Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you how to build this amazing transfer list in React.js. Now this video is going to be very feature friendly and you're going to learn a lot by building this project. So either code along with me or pay attention throughout the video. So first I'll give you a demo of the project. So here you can see 4 list items on the left and 4 list items on the right. And here you can see a bunch of items. So in a transfer list, what happens is, let's say I try to select list item 1 and let's say I try to click on this single arrow button over here, which points to the right. So if I click this, then as you can see, this item went from left to right. Similarly now, let's say if I just click on this button over here, which is the double arrow button, then what's going to happen is it's going to take all elements from the left section and put it to the right. So if I click on this, then as you can see, it takes all elements from there and it puts it to the right. So now let's say I select any random elements over here and then I click on the left button over here. If I do that, all 3 of them go to the left hand side. Now similarly, if I click on this part over here on the double left arrow mark, then all the items from right are going to shift to the left. And if I, let's say, select a few elements from here and click on this right arrow, then it's going to shift only those elements to here. But let's say I select only 3 of these and I click on this double arrow towards the right, then even in that case, it's going to move all the elements to the right despite of only these 3 items being selected. So keep in mind that these double arrow buttons, they always move the entire list from one section to the other, whereas these single arrow buttons, they always move the selected list items from one section to the other. So in this case, if these 3 were selected and I click on the left arrow, then only those 3 go right over here. So this is going to be a very feature friendly and interesting project. You're going to learn a lot by building this. So without any further ado, let's get started. So over here, I have a very basic React.js project set up using Vite. I've set this up in the stackblitz.com. And here we are going to start by creating our transfer list. So first I'll actually start by creating the UI. So right over here, I'll remove this hello world. Then here, I'll give this a class name of nothing but, let's say, transfer list. All right. Then within this, I'm going to create another div just like this. And this is going to have a class name of nothing but list container, should be n. All right. And within this list container is going to be one side of the list, for example, the left side. And then I'll create another list container, which is going to contain the right side of the list. So this list container is going to contain nothing but this part over here. And then I'm going to create another list container, which is going to contain the right side. All right. So this will be the list container. Then right underneath this, I will create another div for nothing but the buttons. So this will have a class name of nothing but buttons container. All right. And then within this, I'm going to add all these 4 buttons. All right. These 4 buttons. I'm going to first create a button just like that. And to this, I will give this an and GT and another and GT, symbolizing that there's going to be multiple greater than signs. So if I refresh this, you can see we get this over here. All right. Then I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste this here. And in this case, we'll only have one greater than sign this time. All right. Similarly, I'll copy this, paste it here. This time we are going to have a less than sign. So LT, then again, I'll paste this part. And this time we'll have nothing but 2 less than signs. So less than and again less than. All right. Now with that done, I'll again copy this list container. I'll go right underneath this buttons container. I'll place this here and this is going to be for the right section. All right. Now let's try to just render out those lists. So what I'll do is I'll create a function over here and I'll name it nothing but const custom list. So custom list. This is going to take nothing but some items and this will be a function. All right. This is just an arrow function. Then what I'll do is I'll call this function right over here and it will take in nothing but a variable called left. And don't worry, we'll soon create this. Similarly, I'll copy this, I'll paste it here and this will take the variable called right, indicating that this is going to be the right section and this is going to be the left section. So after that's done, what I'll do is let's create these left and right variables. So I'll write nothing but const, this is going to be a state. So left set left equals use state, and I'll initialize this as an array which will contain the values 0, 1, 2 and 3. Similarly, I'll copy this, paste it here. This will be right. Sorry, this should be in small case. So right, then set, right, and this will have the values of 4, 5, 6 and 7. Alright, now with that done, I will go to the custom list function that we had created over here. So this takes either left or right, and here what I'm going to do is I am simply going to return a JSX element constructing those lists. So I can actually remove these curly braces from here and return directly. So I'll write this, and then here I'll create a div. Alright, now after that, this div will have a class name of nothing but list, and within this div there will be a UL, so an unordered list. Alright, and within this I am actually going to map through the left or right, which is nothing but the items, because we are calling left here and right over here. Alright, so here actually I have to put these curly braces, then items dot map. This will be nothing but a value. This will be an arrow function. Then I'll create a variable named label ID, which will be equal to nothing but a class name. So transfer list item, and this will have nothing but the value from the items dot map. So value and nothing but label. Alright. So this is actually not required as such, but it's good to have an ID for your elements, which I'll soon be adding here. So I'll just return from this items.map nothing but an li. So there will be an li over here. This li will have nothing but a key of value so that we don't get the key warnings in React. Then this will have nothing but an input tag. Alright, just like that. And within this input, this will be a type of course, checkbox. And then after this, I'll give this an ID as well of label ID. Alright, then after this input, I'll create a label tag. So label, this label will have an HTML for that is used to define the content within the label, or basically to make things more accessible. So it will have label ID. Then here I'll write list item, and this will be nothing but, this should be value plus 1. Alright, so you get list item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We still have some more styling to do, which we'll do pretty soon, don't worry about it. Then after this, I can say that we are pretty much done rendering the HTML part. Now we would actually need to add the onChange or the checked property in the input to handle all these individual checkboxes. But before that, let's actually go ahead and style everything out. So I'll go to my app.css over here. I'll actually remove all of this, just like that. And then over here, I'll actually paste in some styles. So first, I'll paste in this body of background color black to make the entire background black. Then I'll add these styles for the transfer list, which will have nothing but display of flex, justify content center, and align items of center. So something like this, as you can see. Alright, I'm not caring too much about the responsiveness. We are just concerned with the logic. Then after this, I'm going to paste in some styles for the list container. So as you can see, both the list containers now are ordered properly, and they both have been divided to two different sections. Alright, so let's not care too much about the CSS. I'll just make this smaller. I'll actually collapse this over here. Alright, then after this, I'll actually style the list as well. So I'll write list UL. I'll add list style type none. That will remove all these circles. And then I'll give this a padding of 0. Alright, and then after this, I'm going to target the dot list and then the li. And here, I'm going to give this a display of flex, and align items of center, and a margin bottom of 5px. Alright, so these are just stylings you can add or wish to skip as well, not a big deal. Then I'll select the label, then the color of white, and then I'll also select the buttons container. In here, I'll give this a display of flex, a flex direction of column, then an align items of center, and a margin of 0 and 10px. Alright, then after this, I'll actually paste in some styles for these buttons over here. So right over here, I'll paste in these, and you can see we get these styles for the buttons as well. So here for the button, all it's doing is it's adding a margin, padding, background color, border of none, and some minor CSS stylings. Alright, so now after these styles, let's add the logic for the transfer list. So I'm going to go to my app.jsx, and here, if you remember, if I go to the demo, so whatever I check, we need to make sure that we are able to transfer them from one side to the other side. So this means we need to maintain a checked array that contains all the checked items, or keeps track of all the checked items. So right over here, what I'll do is I'll first create a new state named checked, and this will have nothing but set checked, and this will be nothing but an empty array, right? And then after that, upon clicking on any of these list items, we need to make sure that the checked array gets updated. Sorry, this should be set checked, just like that. So now I'll go right over here, actually right over here to the input checkboxes, and right over here I'll actually write on change, and here I'll call a function named handle toggle and pass in the value from this items.map. Alright, so then I'll create that function over here, handle toggle. This will be an arrow function. This, as we know, takes in the value, because here you can see we are passing value to the handle toggle. So handle toggle takes in the value, and here I'll write const current index. So I'll first try to take out the index of that particular value we selected from the checked array. This we are doing just to see if the item we have checked just now already exists in the checked array or not. So I'll first write current index equals checked dot index of value. So if the checked array already contains the value, then what I'll do is I'll create another variable const new checked equals an array, and I'll spread out the values of checked because we don't want to directly mutate the state. So we should always create a new variable, passing the values of that state in the new array, then update new checked, and then set the new checked to set checked. Alright, because we should not directly mutate the state in React. So, and then I'll write over here if current index triple equals -1. So if the item that I just checked doesn't exist in the checked array, that means it's not present in the checked array. So what we can do is, of course, we need to push it into our checked array. So new checked dot push value, and if it already exists in the checked array, then we need to just remove it from the checked array. So from new checked dot splice the current index of that particular value, and then we'll just remove that value. So the index we want to remove and how many elements we want to remove, so 1. Then I'll set checked to nothing but new checked. Alright, now after saving the file, it seems like something has crashed. I think that's mostly because this handle toggle over here, this needs to be a callback. Alright, just like that. So now if I refresh, and then if I actually console.log nothing but the checked state, I refresh this. Alright, so now with that done, after adding the console logs, if I just open this in a new tab, connect to project, let's say I'll expand, I'll go over here, and then if I open the console, then let's say I select some items, and there you go. So whatever I check, it gets added to the checked array over here. And then if I, let's say, uncheck the first one, now we only have index 1 and 2 left. So list item 1 and list item 2. Basically the indexes are what's added over here, not the value added plus 1 like it's shown over here in the content. Alright, so our handle toggle works fine. So with that, after this, I'll just remove this console log. Then let's do the simple ones first. Let's add the functionality for moving all the elements from left to right or from right to left. So basically these two buttons, the double arrow ones, because we know that when we click this, the double arrow towards the right, all the items will have to move from left to right. And if we click this, the double left, all the items have to move from right to left. So I'll go down here to the button, and here to the double right, I'll add an on click, and this will have nothing but handle all right. So I'll create this function soon. Similarly to the double left one, this will have nothing but handle all left. Alright, so now let's create these two functions. So I'll go up here, actually right above the custom list. Alright, const handle all right. This will be an arrow function. Similarly, I'll create one for handle all left. So handle all left. Alright, now these two functions are going to be really straightforward. So in the handle all right, this is going to be a pretty straightforward function. All we need to do is we need to move all the elements from left to right, because handle all right is mentioned right over here for the double GT one. So all the elements should go from left to right. Therefore, over here, I can simply write set right, which is nothing but the state we had created for the left and right. So set right, then I'll write right dot concat, nothing but concat all the elements of left, and then set the left state to an empty array. Alright, if I refresh, and let's say I click on the double right, you can see all the elements move from this left side to the right side. So that works perfectly fine. Now let's do the same for the handle all left. So here I'll again copy these two, paste it here, and this time this will be set left, then left dot concat all the elements of right. So take all the elements from right and place it to the left, and then set the right array to an empty array. Now if I refresh and let's say I click on this, the handle all left, and you can see all the elements went from the right to the left. So these two buttons work perfectly fine. Now lastly, let's add the logic for these two buttons as well. Alright, the individual greater than and less than sign buttons. So I'll go down here, and here I'll add an on click, and this will have nothing but the function handle checked right, because it's going to move all the elements from left to the right. So handle all the checked elements from left to the right. Similarly, I'll copy this, paste this here, and this will be nothing but handle checked left. Alright, so this is nothing but for this function, for this button over here. So it will move all the elements, all the checked elements from right to left. Alright, now let's create these two handlers. So I'll go up here, I'll create an arrow function, handle checked right. Similarly, I'll copy this, paste this here, this will be handle checked left. Now before we write the logic for these two functions, I'll actually go to the input over here, and right here, I'll actually take the checked property, and to this, I'll just write if checked, like the checked array that we have, if checked dot index of value is not equal to -1. So that means when we're iterating through, or when we're mapping through this items array, then the checked for that particular list item will be true if its subsequent value or if its subsequent index is present in the checked array. Alright, now after that, what we can do is we can finally write the logic for these two functions, basically for these two buttons. So here I'll first write, well, before I write anything, just think about it first. When I click this button, what should happen? Well, all the elements that are checked over here on the left should move to the right, and the checked elements that move from the left to right, those checked elements need to be removed from this left side. So let's say if I select these two, and if I click this, then these two elements should move to the right, and these two elements should get removed from here. So only list 1 and 4 should remain, and 2 and 3 should be appended to this side over here, to the right hand side. Alright, so we need to do an add operation and a removal operation, right? So what I can do is, let's first try to acquire all the values that we have checked. So for example, if I click on list 2 and list 3, then let's first create a variable that contains these two items that have been checked, because based on that, we can send those values to the right array over here. So what I'll do is, I'll go up here, I will create a variable named left checked, indicating the items in the left that have been checked. So this will be nothing but, because I have to do the same thing for the right as well, for the items in the right that have been checked, what I'll do is I'll create a common function over here, and I'll name it something like intersection. We'll take two values, a comma b, and we'll do something. So basically this left checked will call the intersection function, and it will take two parameters, which is the checked and the left array. Alright, so here all I need to do is whatever values from the checked array that's present in the left array, filter them out and add them in the left checked variable. Alright, so again, whatever values from the checked array that's present in the left array, filter them out and add them in the left checked variable. Now the same will also go for the right checked variable that I'll create. But first, let me just write this over here. This function will just return nothing but a.filter. A is nothing but the checked array. So a.filter value. Then here, I'll write nothing but b.index of value is not equal to -1. Meaning that, so whatever values from the checked array that's present in the left array, filter them out and return it from the intersection function, which will do nothing but add those values in the left checked variable. Alright, so that's the first part, which is acquiring all the checked elements of a particular section. Right, so if I select these two, the left checked is going to contain the indexes of these two items. So if I just log this out, console.log left checked. Alright, I'll refresh this, open this in a new tab. I'll connect to project. It's actually seems like there is some sort of an error when it comes to the checked attribute. in the input. So if I go down here, there's something wrong with this part over here. Oh, this is my bad. I should have added this entire thing in the index of parenthesis, whereas the index of is only going to contain the value, and I'll remove this parenthesis from here, right? So yeah, this should fix it. So if I actually refresh and then I go up, and if you remember, I had console log the left checked. So now if I open this in a new tab, I open the console, I try to zoom in. All right, so now if I, let's say, select list item 2, so I get the first index. If I select the list item 4, I get the third index. So this means now I have a variable that keeps track of all the items I have checked on the left side of the array, or on the left side. Now all I need to do is I need to move these 2 items to the right side and remove these 2 items from the left side. So all I need to do is I can go down here to the handle checked right. Here I'll write nothing but set the right array with nothing but right dot concat, because I'm moving the left items, the checked items in the left, from left to right, right? So set right dot concat, nothing but the left checked items. All right, and then so this will transfer the values from the left to the right. Now we need to remove those values from the left. So if I just show this to you, let's say expand this, I select these 2, I click on this, then you see these 2 values came over here. So that works fine, but these 2 also need to get removed from here. So to do that, I'll actually write another function. So here, right on top, I'll write a function named not. This will also take 2 arguments, a comma b, and all this function is going to do is whatever values from left that's not present in the checked array, filter them out and set them to the left. Again, so whatever values in the left array that's not present in the checked array, filter them out and set them to the left. So basically, if I select these 2, and let's say I clicked on this button, so then whatever values that are not present in the checked array, so in this case, these 2 items are not present in the checked array, right? So whatever values from left that are not present in the checked array, which are list 3 and list 4, filter them out, like take these 2 values out and set them to the left array. So then the left array will be set to nothing but these 2 over here. All right, so that's all we need to do. So all I'll do over here is I'll write return a dot filter, nothing but value, and then b dot index of value is equal to -1. All right, and just to show you how I'm going to use this, this is pretty similar to this function over here, just that here it's looking for all the values from left that's not present in checked array and then filtering them out. Whereas here it's looking for whatever values from checked that's present in left array and then filtering them out and adding them in the left checked variable. All right, so now I'll go down here, right over here. Remember, I moved these 2 elements from left to right. Now I need to remove these 2 elements, and that's what our not function does, the one we just created now. So here I'll write set left. We need to add the set left state to nothing but these 2 elements. So set left, I'll call the not function, and I'll pass in nothing but left and left checked. All right, and similarly I'll also write the set checked state. I'll update the set checked state to nothing but all the elements that are already present in checked, except the ones that were just moved from the left to the right, because once these 2 move from here to here, the check mark should also get removed. So let's say I had clicked on any other check marks, let's say here and here, so those checked list items will still be there in the checked variable, but the ones which got moved, they should become unchecked. So here I'll again call the not, and I'll pass in the checked and the left checked. All right, meaning that remove the values of left checked from checked array and then set it to the checked array. So now if I actually refresh this, let's say I click on these 2, I click on the greater than arrow mark over here, and voila, you see those 2 elements moved from left to right. They also got removed from the left side and they also got unchecked. So this means, let's say I refresh this, so let's say I had these 2 selected and these 2 selected as well. So now the checked array contains 4 items, but if I only click this button over here, then it means these 2 are going to shift here, they're going to get unchecked, and the checked array should only contain these 2 elements. So if I click this, those 2 move here, and this left side only contains these 2, but the checked array still contains these 2. So we do not want to empty the checked array completely. We only filter out those checked items from the checked array that were just transferred. Alright, and now for the less than button, basically the handle checked left, this button over here is the exact same thing. So all we need to do is we basically create the same thing, paste it here, and this time we name this right checked, and this will be nothing but right. And then I'll actually copy all these three things from here, paste it here, and this time it's going to be nothing but set left instead of set right. So set left, then left.concat, nothing but the right checked. It's the same logic all over again, just the values are interchanged. And similarly, after moving the right values to the left, the right checked values to the left, we need to empty out the values in the right. So I'll simply change this to set right, and instead of left, this will be right, and this will be nothing but right checked. Alright, so we are removing the checked elements from the right hand side once they have been transferred to the left. Alright, and then lastly, we also need to uncheck them from the checked array. So it's going to be the same thing as over here, just that this is going to be replaced with nothing but right checked. Alright, I'll save this, and I'll refresh. Now if I play around, it should work perfectly fine. So if I click these two, and if I move to the left, then you see those two items moved to the left, and those two items got removed from the right, and they also got unchecked. Alright, now one more thing we can do is, let's say I also click on these two, and I move them to the left, then you can see this button isn't quite disabled. All the elements from the right are gone, but this button still isn't disabled. So what I can do is I can go down here, and for this LT over here, right over here, I can write disabled equals nothing but right checked dot length triple equals 0. So if all the elements here at the right hand side are equal to 0, then just disable this. So let's say I move all the elements here. So now this should be disabled. You see it's not clickable anymore. It's not even hovering anymore. Similarly, I'll copy this. I'll paste this here. And instead of right checked dot length, this will be left checked dot length. Alright, so if I refresh this and I move all the elements from left to right, and then I try to click the right button over here, you see it doesn't get active, which means it's disabled. Alright, because the left side is empty. Alright, so now if I refresh this, this application pretty much works perfectly fine as shown in the demo. So if I show this right here, and if I click, let's say list 1 and list 3, and I transfer them to the right, they get transferred. Similarly, if I select these three items, I transfer them to the left, they get transferred. And if I try to transfer all the elements from left to the right, they get transferred. Similarly, if I transfer all the elements from the right to the left, they also get transferred. So all of this works perfectly fine. So this is how you build a transfer list, and it's a pretty interesting project because you get to learn a lot of minor but quite important features in React. So with that, that's all for this video. If you found it insightful, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more.